was at the end of her rope. She was tired all the time, had muscle aches, and was in a fog. How many of you does that sound familiar? Yeah. Okay, well, after years of doctor's visits, she still didn't feel any better until now. Please welcome Wendy Walsh and the man who got to the bottom of her health issues, Dr. Stephen Hotze with the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. He's also the author of the book, Hormones, Health, and Happiness. All right. By the time you were in your mid-30s, you were feeling horrible. When we think in your mid-30s, you're still vital and you shouldn't feel horrible at all. What were the symptoms?
In my mid-30s, I started having, I was irritable all the time, I was moody, I was depressed, and I went to the doctors and they told me that that was all part of getting older. And in my mid-30s.
Yeah, throw in the towel in your mid-30s.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then offered no other answers, or were they offering to treat the symptoms?
No other answers. And they said, next year I'd come in for a checkup, and I said, I'm still not feeling well, and they just said that was normal. There was nothing they could do for me.
Yeah.
Finally, I asked the doctor, I said, well, can you please run some tests just to make sure? I said, something's not right. I don't feel well at all.
Yeah.
So he ran some tests, and sure enough, my hormones were not balanced. So he put me on counterfeit hormones, which for a while helped, and I didn't realize that it's kind of like a Band-Aid for the symptoms. It doesn't really replenish any of the hormones that my body was needing. So for a few years I did okay, and then I'd start saying I still don't feel well, so he put me on different
And when
ones.
you say don't feel well, how bad did it get?
Well, it got so bad when I went to Dr. Hotze Center about 2.5 years ago. I was so tired I could barely go to work. I would have to take a nap every day at lunchtime just to make it through the rest of the day. I'd go home at night and fall into bed with my clothes on. I'd sleep the whole weekend just to save enough energy to make it through the next work week.
Yeah.
That's how bad I'd gotten.
All right, so
I was depressed.
You had the test that said, yeah, you got a hormone problem, but it doesn't stop there. You got to know how to read that test, and you are really big on what are you replacing the hormones with.
Well, Wendy had classical symptoms that many women have in midlife as their hormones become imbalanced with their female sex hormones, which adversely affects their thyroid hormone and their ability to utilize thyroid.
It's like a domino effect.
Right, and so all that affects your metabolism, so the metabolism goes down. In other words, you don't produce enough energy, which she wasn't. And so she felt tired, fatigued, chronic fatigue, and had to sleep all the time, you know, whenever she could get a chance trying to replenish her energy.
Yeah, muscle aches.
Oh, yeah, muscle aches too.
And felt depressed, and then the doctor put her on antidepressant. Well, honey, your problem's not, you just need some antidepressants,
It's all in my head.
Yeah.
It's all in your head. You know, there's nothing. So when she came in, of course, it was very common presentation. She had the fatigue, inability to focus and think clearly, difficulty sleeping, insomnia, even though she was tired all the time, the joint muscle aches and pains, the depressed moods, and she was on the antidepressants. She wasn't any better. So we said, why don't we just do this? Why don't we replenish what your body is lacking? You've gone through the change early. She went through the change 10 years early.
Yeah.
And put her on the counterfeit, the horse estrogens and all that. So what we did is we took her off all that, weaned her off the antidepressants, and put her on desiccated thyroid, natural thyroid hormone replacement, put her on bioidentical female hormones, progesterone.
So in other words, the body's not recognizing that it's not producing it itself. It's not looking at it as I'll use some of it if I have to, but it is counterfeit. Right.
That's a counterfeit hormone is a drug that mimics hormones that the drug companies make to mimic the hormones, rather than the doctor prescribing the natural bioidentical hormone. They can't patent those, but we use that. That's what I recommend. Why would we not use the same thing our body used to make? So we replenish that. We fill up the tank. The hormone tank is gone empty. We fill it back up and put it at optimal levels. And then the proof's in the pudding. What happened? So that was 2.5 years ago. What happened?
Oh, it was night and day.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, they say it got your life back. I did get my life back. Plus, my husband got his wife back.
Yeah.
Because
but you know what? One thing you did miss out on, which this is something that, you know, just needs to be looked at carefully. You tried to get pregnant in your 20s, couldn't get pregnant. You did all kinds of tests, fertility, all that type of stuff.
Didn't you have some miscarriages?
Yes, I did. I had trouble conceiving, and we had all the testing done. It wasn't my husband's problem, which he was very happy about.
Yeah.
But, so it was all me. But for years, tried to conceive. I did actually conceive 3 times. 2 ended in miscarriages, and 1 was an early termination.
And knowing what we know now, it was probably
low thyroid.
Exactly.
And imbalance of the female hormones. But low thyroid, that's a classical finding in hypothyroid patients. Unfortunately, Most physicians don't think about thyroid problems, and if they do, they use a blood test only to make the diagnosis, and the blood test is so broad, so wide, so large that 95% of the people fall within the range. So there's literally millions of people. I think I've figured 70 million people walking around America today that are hypothyroid.
Yeah, I was one of them.
And they're not being treated with thyroid medication, and I'm talking about desiccated thyroid as opposed to the synthetic.
Right.
They're
we
not
have
being
a
treated
couple of
with that.
seconds left, but there's something that we touched on when you said muscle aches, whole bit, which is reminiscent of fibromyalgia, which you say is also caused by...
Fibromyalgia is caused by hypothyroidism. It's chronic muscle aches and pain associated with fatigue. Classical features of hypothyroidism. And any person that's been diagnosed with fibromyalgia ought to be given a clinical trial of desiccated natural thyroid.
As opposed to medicating the pain.
Absolutely.
Okay,
instead of putting a
Band-Aid
Band-Aid on it, why don't we go ahead and treat the underlying cause?
All right, Dr. Hotze, thank you very much. Congratulations on getting your life back.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Hotze, by the way, is hosting a Women's Health Symposium in honor of Mother's Day, a Women's Health Symposium where people can ask all kinds of questions. All right, it's Saturday, May 1st at 10 a.m. at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. You need to RSVP, so send an email to rsvp@hotzehwc.com, rsvp@hotzehwc.com, or call them at 281-698-8698, 281-698-8698. That way you can ask all kinds of questions. You can also listen to Dr. Hotze's radio show, Health and Wellness Solutions, weekdays from noon to 1. It's on KSEV 700 AM. We'll be right back.